Hello, everyone. It's the hardcore legend Mick Foley wishing a nice day to everyone there, right there at True Heel Heat. Yeah.
Hello, hello, hello. It is me, your True Hill Phenom, SP3. We are back once again. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. We have another monthly list, this time with WWE reintroducing the World Heavyweight Championship coming up later this month at Night of Champions when they crown a new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. We are here this month in May with the top 10 WWE World Heavyweight Champions of all time. I am here this month with the man you know as the true draw. You see him on Elite Heat every Wednesday, on Rated Raw Superstars every Monday, reviews and whatnot. Always the most honest person on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, next to Jimmy Macaram. He's a little too honest, but this is the true draw, Josh.
Yeah, you want to talk about honest? Yeah, I got some thoughts about the new title.
We're gonna allow you the opportunity to get that out. We just want to remind everybody, drop the thumbs up on this video, share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We are slowly approaching 7,000 subscribers here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel, and this year in 2023, we have now got monthly list, so you can comment whether it's in the live chat or in the premiere of this video or in the comments down below what you want us to do a countdown for in the upcoming months. June, July, August, you can decide what we do our next countdown on. Let us know in the comments down below. But Josh, you have a certain feelings about the World Heavyweight Championship. That's why I wanted you on this month's list. Let the people know what you think about Triple H reintroducing the World Heavyweight Championship as our 3rd world title in WWE today.
I'm put it the nicest way. I think it's fucking stupid.
That was the nicest way. That was your nicest way.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb. Like, the design itself, I've gotten used to it. At first, I was like, meh. Because honestly, to me, it still looks like a 2K created belt because it's already just a world title with the WWE logo, right? Which is whatever now, right? It's whatever. That's what you wanted to go for, fine. But the whole concept of just adding the title again is so fucking repetitive. It's so redundant because you basically go on TV and basically said the reason why these titles are being created is because Roman's beating everybody. That's basically what you said. Oh, Roman's too good. So we got to create this title because he's beating everybody. And it's such a lazy concept of trying to cover up your incompetence of trying to remove one of the titles off of Roman, which you could have done several times. You could have done it so many creative ways. You could have done it in creative ways. You could even use the Money in the Bank involved in it, and he didn't even do that. But the way they got the Money in the Bank off was, oh no, let's have him cash in on the mid card title, right? But yeah, you're telling me you couldn't just do it for like one title with the Money in the Bank because it's already stupid. Might as well just keep going on the track of stupidness. So for him to just add it the way that they did, I mean, it's just retarded. I don't like it. I don't like the concept. Even the matches right now, like I think Seth and AJ, right, going for the title, It makes me not care for it. And it sucks because I'm like, I want to care, but there's a part of me that's like, who cares? Like, I don't care who wins. Because it's just, it's like you said, it's a third world title. It's not even a consolation prize. It's like what? This is like a freaking third place ribbon.
It's the bronze medal. It's the bronze medal of WWE.
Yeah, and it's like, again, the title design is whatever at this point for me, but it's just the whole concept of just adding it. It's just dumb. It's fucking stupid, and I'm gonna stand behind it. It's dumb. I don't like it. And if this was your way of like to make the both titles, the undisputed world heavyweight champ, whatever they call it now, universal. If that was your way of, hey, let's just make one title, it's so fucking lazy. Just split the two titles and keep it two titles that way, right? Because Roman, he established the universal title, regardless of what people want to say. He established it. He's about to hit 1,000 days because of that title. So it was like, I just don't get it, and it's gonna get to a point that they're gonna remove it again at some point in the future. So the whole thing is just it's dumb. And I think people, again, it's just a trend of people giving Triple H they're giving him a pass because they really think this is a great idea. No, it's a lazy idea. It's lazy. It's lazy and it's dumb because you had 9 months? You had 9 or 10 months to remove 2 titles off of Roman Reigns, and you didn't. You telling me you couldn't figure out a way to remove 2 titles off of Roman? So your solution was, let's add a 3rd title. Fantastic. Thank you, Trips.
Thank you, Triple H. Yes, I can't argue with any point you just made. I said the reference before. It's a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. It's still bleeding. It's still bleeding. The wound's still there.
It's like that tape. That tape commercial where the guys always make fun of it, like that's what that exactly is. Well, I forgot what it's called, like that flex tape.
Yes,
that's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Like, you see, we figured it out. Let's go.
We're geniuses. We're geniuses, guys. But yes, we're here to discuss the history of the World Heavyweight Championship before a new champion is crowned at Night of Champions on May 27th. We had the group, the team at True Heel Heat, as well as our Patreon backers and even some other folks from around the wrestling social media world to give us their top 5 World Heavyweight Champions in WWE history, and out of that 5, we gave each person they listed a point. So number 1 got 5 points, number 2 got 4 points, number 3 got 3 points, number 4 got 2 points, and number 5 got 1 point. And we assembled this top 5 list of the greatest WWE World Heavyweight Champions of all time. This World Heavyweight Championship, specifying this is the one that was introduced on Raw in 2002 with Eric Bischoff handing the championship to Triple H. We're not including the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, which is the same title, and we're not including anyone that is going to win the title after May 27th. So the World Heavyweight Championship was always the secondary world title, which also adds to what Josh was saying, that not the best thing to bring that back, and the fact that they have literally gone on air and called it the 3rd world title, and they've literally gone on air and had the bloodline say it's a consolation prize. But that's besides the point. We're going too much on that. But yes.
It's like, damn, you even add that to the fucking script and you still like, what the? You see what I mean? Like, what's the point of this shit?
What are we doing? But we have 3 honorable mentions before we get into our top 10, Josh. One of the honorable mentions with 2 nominations was Mark Henry, who infamously had the Hall of Pain run in 2011. After 15 years with WWE, he finally reached the mountaintop, defeating Randy Orton at Night of Champions in 2011, and went on a very memorable run. His feud with Big Show over the World Championship, delivered a couple of good matches with those two behemoths. He finally lost the championship to the Big Show at TLC 2011 before Daniel Bryan, won the World Heavyweight title from him. Speaking of Daniel Bryan, he is one of our other honorable mentions, also with 2 nominations. His famous run with the beginnings of the Yes chant, his heel run, his whole relationship with AJ Lee, his matches where he just kept squeaking by. Very underrated run as World Heavyweight Champion. Then we also got here 2 more honorable mentions here, both with one with 2 nominations, one with 1 nominations, with 1 nominations, but a second place vote from someone, John Cena, who had 4 points overall in our honorable mentions here. He's a multi-time World Heavyweight Champion, winning the belt in 2008 from Chris Jericho. He held it until Elimination Chamber, where he lost to Edge. He won back the World Championship from Edge in a triple threat match with the Big Show at WrestleMania 25. He beat Alberto Del Rio for the championship in 2013. So a couple of really good runs from John Cena, holding that world title, bringing some prestige to it. And then finally, our final honorable mention, Booker T, who is a 5-time WCW World Heavyweight Champion with that same title, but this is specifically talking about his run in 2006 as King Booker, where he won the World Championship, held it for about 3 to 4 months. Very good reign as the top heel over on SmackDown with the King's Court with William Regal and Fit Finlay before losing the title to Batista. Any mentions or any comments on any of our honorable mentions between Mark Henry, Daniel Bryan, John Cena, and Booker T here?
The Mark Henry one, I thought for me stands out just because I really thought he had a really great world title run, because he was one of those guys who actually benefited from that. He was one of those guys who not only was there forever not winning a world title, but even when you look back at it, it was the way he won it. Like, he was dominant. Like, the way Orton put him over, it was like nobody could stop him. And I felt like he really was like a working champion. Fortunately, they took the belt off of him because he got injured. That was part of the reason why they took the belt off of him. So they had Big Show beat him, and then Daniel Bryan cashed in on him. I still remember that because I still remember watching that live. I thought I really thought his world title run was great. I think it's super underrated in my opinion. Daniel Bryan, reason why that's actually one of my favorite runs is because he was like the freaking definition of chicken shit heel.
Yes.
Yeah, he was just like winning these bullshit matches in bullshit ways. Like, they had the triple threat, Mark Henry, Big Show, and him, and a steel cage match. Mm-hmm. There's like no way he's supposed to win. And the way he fucking wins is Big Show was grabbing him. He lets go. And he
out of the ring.
He gets out of the ring. Like, I thought like his reign was perfect because of that, because it was like a definition of a chicken shit heel who was winning matches. And like you said, it started the Yes chant, and even when he lost the title the way he did, that actually solidified. Crazy how he lost the match in 18 seconds, and that actually brought his career to another level after that.
Yeah, totally agree with you. I'm kind of disappointed that Daniel Bryan didn't make our top 10, because I felt his reign did a lot for him in elevating him out the card. And then, like you said, when he lost the world title, it even took him to a higher level because of how popular he became, because the fans kind of rebelled against that booking. But let's get into this top 10, Josh. Coming in at number 10 on our list here with 7 points overall on 3 nominations, we have CM Punk. CM Punk is a 3-time World Heavyweight Champion. His first run came in 2008 after winning the Money in the Bank at WrestleMania 24. He cashed in on Mr. Money in the Bank at that time, Edge, in a very comeuppance kind of way where Edge got beaten down by Batista on an episode of Monday Night Raw when he was talking a whole bunch of shit. And then CM Punk came in, delivered the go to sleep to win his first World Heavyweight Championship run. His World Heavyweight Championship run, this one was kind of lackluster, as he was kind of the fifth most important thing on Monday Night Raw at the time, with HBK and Chris Jericho feuding. There was also John Cena, Batista on the show at the time, and he eventually lost the championship in a match that he wasn't even involved in at Unforgiven 2008 when Chris Jericho won the World Heavyweight Championship. But I really feel he's on this list because he had one of the greatest rivalries in the World Heavyweight Championship history, and that's with Jeff Hardy. He cashed in the Money in the Bank after winning the Money in the Bank briefcase a second time at WrestleMania 25 in 2009 at Extreme Rules after Jeff Hardy won a ladder match against Edge. CM Punk cashed in, won the championship, and started one of his best character works of his career in WWE, where he really felt like he was right to cash in. He said, "I cashed in the same way last year. You all celebrated me, but now that it's on Jeff Hardy, you're all upset about it." And he tried to villainize Jeff Hardy, talking about his addictions and being suspended. And this started his whole straight edge era, which parlayed into the straight edge society. But this feud with Jeff Hardy was kind of the key thing to SmackDown in the summer of 2009, culminating with the big ladder match at SummerSlam. He lost the title previously at Night of Champions to Jeff Hardy, and then regained it in the ladder match at SummerSlam 2009, holding the title up until Hell in a Cell that year, where he lost it to the Undertaker. This scene right here started the feud with the Undertaker, where he raises the title over Jeff Hardy's body, and then he doppelgangers into Undertaker after the lights go off. So some memorable runs, some memorable feuds. What do you think about CM Punk's legacy with the World Heavyweight Championship?
Yeah, I actually do agree with that. I thought his first one was lackluster. It kind of felt like a test, like testing the waters to see how he would be as a world champion, or how the fans reacted to it. That's how it kind of felt like. It just didn't really feel right when he won it. I felt like it was a little too soon for him as well. And I felt like the second time he won it, he felt more ready. Like it felt like it was more his time. But I still remember that too, because I also saw that live. I remember I was kind of confused when it happened at first, because it was like, wait a minute, this guy he's a baby face. Why is he cashing in on Jeff Hardy? And then the way they slowly made him to a heel based off of that, I thought it was great. So I agree with that. His second one was way better. I think that's why he's on the list, because his second title run was way better, because it led to a great rivalry, and it also led to, like you said, like one of his best gimmicks that he had with the company. So yeah, I agree with that. I don't for anybody who voted for CM Punk for that. I hope it's based off of the second run, not the first one, because the first one was not great.
Oh, overall, 3-time World Heavyweight Champion, but I do agree, yeah, his second run was probably the run that got him on this list here. Now, let's move on to number 9 on our list, Josh. Coming in at number 9 with 4 nominations and also 7 points, but one more nomination got them the 9 spot over number 10, CM Punk. This is a controversial one. You may want to skip this one. It's Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit coming in at number 9, one-time World Heavyweight Champion, winning the championship at WrestleMania 20, the famous scene with him and Eddie Guerrero closing the show, defeating Shawn Michaels and Triple H in one of the most memorable main events in WrestleMania history. They repeated the feat again in another great triple threat match at Backlash 2004. Benoit had great title defenses against the likes of Shawn Michaels Michaels on TV, against Kane at Bad Blood, finally culminating his run at SummerSlam 2004 in a great matchup against Randy Orton, where Randy Orton became the youngest World Heavyweight Champion in history. But of course, Chris Benoit is on the list, and nobody can think about that great world title run. They only want to think about how his life ended, and we are not agreeing with any of the decisions he made in his final run, but just talking about his World Heavyweight Championship run. I know you, in fact, had him in your top 5. Why do you think Chris Benoit deserves to be on this list?
Yeah, well, minus how I feel personally about the guy. I had him on my top 5. I believe I had him at 4. The reason why is because I felt like he was kind of in the same situation as Mark Henry, where I felt like these guys like this who benefited from it at the time. You know, like I said, Mark Henry benefited from a world title run. And I felt like Chris Benoit was on the same boat because of how he won it. You know, he won the Royal Rumble, and then they had that great build up to WrestleMania, and then even him winning at WrestleMania was a big moment. And I legit feel like he had a great run. Like he was a working champion. He was never great on the mic. He was never a great. I want to say he was never a great gimmick because his gimmick was just being a worker. Like he really didn't have a gimmick. You kind of knew when you saw Chris Benoit, he was just a worker. So I felt like his reign was great because he was a working champion.
Yeah, it really was like a workhorse run for him. He had the 60-minute Iron Man match with Triple H that was also on an episode of Monday Night Raw. He had a bunch of great matches on Monday Night Raw. In fact, like every other week, whether it was in tag team or whether it was in singles competition, he was kind of one of the highlights of Monday Night Raw. But everybody's also going to remember, the WrestleMania 20 main event, one of the greatest triple threat matches in WWE history, and then having the rematch I think it was in Montreal at Backlash 2004, where he beats Shawn Michaels with the sharpshooter. That's a memorable moment of his reign as well. So, despite what he did, and we both don't agree with what he did to end his life, we can all agree his World Heavyweight Championship run is probably the highlight of his entire WWE career.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on, Josh, to number 8. Coming in at number 8 here with 8 points overall, 1 first place vote. So our first person to get a first place vote on 3 nominations. It's the other Canadian Chris Jericho. You said Danny O'Brien is one of the best chicken shit heels. I think there is no better chicken shit heel in the history of the World Heavyweight Championship than Chris Jericho because of the ways he won the World Heavyweight Championship. His first run comes in 2008 after he was brutalized in the midst of his feud with Shawn Michaels in a non-sanctioned match at Unforgiven 2008. After CM Punk is taken out by a punk kick by Randy Orton, Chris Jericho sneaks in during the championship scramble, steals the World Heavyweight Championship. This is in the midst of his honest man gimmick when he's coming out with the suit, so he just looked like a World Heavyweight Champion. He had completed his feud with Shawn Michaels during this run. He actually lost the title to Batista at, I believe, Cyber Tuesday or Cyber Sunday in 2008, and then won it back from Batista just 8 days later in a steel cage match in a chicken shit heel way again, and then finally winning his 3rd World Heavyweight Championship in 2010 after Shawn Michaels super kick Sweet Chin Music to The Undertaker, costing him the world title to get his match at WrestleMania 26. Chris Jericho pins The Undertaker, wins the World Heavyweight Championship, held on to the title until the SmackDown after WrestleMania 26 when Jack Swagger cashed in Money in the Bank on him. But I think the real reason he's in here is the aforementioned feud with Shawn Michaels that parlayed and culminated with Chris Jericho defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Michaels at No Mercy 2008 in one of the greatest ladder matches in WWE history. In my part, I think Chris Jericho, Shawn Michaels is a top 5 feud in WWE history, and definitely worthy. Just that alone, his world title run coming in the midst of that feud, I think that is what parlays him into this top 5 right here. What do you think about Chris Jericho's legacy with the World Heavyweight Championship?
I'm a little surprised that he's not higher because I saw like when people were voting for him in top 5. So a little surprising that he's not higher, but yeah, he actually had a good he did have a great run with the title because I remember when he won it the first time. And I was like, what? I remember I was hype about it because I was like, oh shit, he actually won it because his his gimmick. I was actually a fan of his gimmick at the time where, like you said, he was coming out wearing the suits. He was calling the fans parasites. He was just like insulting everybody. And it was something new from Jericho, which he's always been great at. Jericho's always been great at elevating himself, reinventing himself. And that's what makes him so great. That, we know the guy, we know who he is, but he's always finding ways to change up who he is and, his gimmicks in the ring and stuff like that. So that's one thing I will never take away from Jericho. But yeah, I actually agree with him being in the top 10. I'm just more surprised. I thought he would be closer to the top 5.
Yeah, I think that, despite I think everyone on this list deserving to be on this list, I think the next couple of people I probably would have picked Jericho ahead of them, but I understand the arguments for these guys. I just think Chris Jericho I had him in my top 5. I think he's a top 5 world heavyweight champion of all time because of just that being that consummate. This is the world title, and him winning it confirmed that he was the top heel. Despite him being the first ever undisputed WWE champion, I felt like these runs with the top title put him at a different level. And finally, he felt like a main eventer, not the guy that was just winning the world title because they couldn't put it on, Austin and Rock. They wanted to make a new star with the undisputed championship. These were the runs that kind of confirmed that Chris Jericho is one of the greatest of all time.
Yeah, I actually agree with that because his undisputed title run, I mean, it wasn't terrible, but I don't think it was that great because it kind of felt like it kind of was dragging. It kind of felt like he was what do you call that? Placeholder. Yeah, I feel like it kind of felt like he was a placeholder, but it was like so long because he won it like in December. He didn't lose until Mania, so it kind of just felt like it dragged that long. And I don't think, to me, it really helps. I don't think it really helps his case either that Triple H wins it and then he lost like a month later. It got to a point that the title kind of felt like it was being hot potatoed in a way because there was like guys winning it and then another person winning a month later. I still remember that too. But I do agree with his world title runs. I felt like those were better than his undisputed title run.
100% we're in agreement there, but we got to move on to number 7 on our list, Josh. This one comes in with just 2 nominations, but both are first place nominations, which gives them 10 points overall. So they come in at number 7 here. One-time world heavyweight champion, the Heartbreak Kid, Shawn Michaels. This came when he returned to WWE in 2002, and he won the first ever Elimination Chamber matchup, defeating Triple H in the end to win the World Heavyweight Championship. It was kind of the culmination of the comeback story of Shawn Michaels, and he only held the title for about 30 days before losing it to Triple H at Armageddon. But the beginning was great with the great first ever Elimination Chamber. He also had a great TV title defense against Rob Van Dam during this time, and then his matchup at Armageddon with Triple H was very good as well. But I think that, honestly, I'm just going to be honest, I think the 2 people that put them number 1, it was more because it is Shawn Michaels more than his world title run. I think Shawn Michaels, his one run may be one of the top 10 best reigns, but I would probably put it at number 10. But what do you think, Josh? Why do you think Shawn Michaels made our list only having a 1 month World Heavyweight Championship run.
Yeah, I think it was a little too high for that because yeah, his title run was short. I think him winning it was more memorable. Um, yeah, and then somebody did say I'm not gonna mention no names. I remember they were like, "Oh, I voted for HBK because I go by who wins it and not the title reigns." But I'm like, but isn't that the point of making a list of like top 10 champions? I'm not gonna vote for somebody because of their name. I'm gonna vote for them because if they legit had a good title run, right? That's the whole point. So that's why I was like, when I saw that concept, I'll be like, oh no, I think some people are gonna pick HBK because of that. You know, I don't think it was a terrible run. It's just it was short, and the title when he won the match, that's more memorable than his actual run.
Yeah, and sometimes it can, that can be the precedence for the people. Like, they just remember how he won the title and don't necessarily remember the reign itself. But Shawn Michaels, this was definitely kind of the culmination of his comeback run. It came in the midst of his feud with Triple H, which is one of the more memorable feuds over the World Heavyweight Championship. Their rematch after Armageddon at the end of 2003 was probably the best match on Monday Night Raw during Triple H's run, where they faced on the last Monday Night Raw of 2003 in a great matchup where they kind of did the dusty finish where it looked like Shawn Michaels won, and then Eric Bischoff was like, "No, you don't win. We're gonna set up the last man standing match at Royal Rumble 2004," and then they were also a part of that triple threat match at WrestleMania 20 where Benoit won it. So he's been a part of some memorable world title runs, like Jericho's, like we said before, the ladder match at No Mercy 2008. He feuded with Randy Orton over the world title, but yeah, I kind of get where Josh is coming from on this one. I'm just trying to make it sound good. Number 6 here, coming in at number 6, Josh, with 12 points overall, including one first place vote and 3 nominations. Another one-time World Heavyweight Champion, Kurt Angle. Kurt Angle won the World Heavyweight Championship after Batista relinquished the title due to injury. He won a Battle Royal where he won the World Heavyweight Championship, coming over from Raw to SmackDown to win the world title. He had a matchup with Mark Henry where he beat Mark Henry in the main event of Raw Rumble 2006 before The Undertaker made his return to challenge Kurt Angle. And The Undertaker versus Kurt Angle for the World Heavyweight Championship at No Way Out 2006, in my opinion, is a top 5 matchup for the World Heavyweight Championship. It was one of the best matchups of 2006, one of the best matches of both men's careers, and are really kind of, I think that would be my main reason why Kurt Angle would make a list like this. His reign was memorable with this matchup, the way he won it, and then losing the championship at WrestleMania in 22 to Rey Mysterio in a very good, less than 10 minutes triple threat match with Randy Orton. But just this match alone, like I said, I think that is the reason why Kurt Angle is on the list. What do you remember the most from Kurt Angle's run in 2006, Josh?
Yeah, I remember the match. I remember the Taker match. I remember when he won it. But I'm kind of on the same boat that I feel with HBK with Kurt Angle's run because it was short. That was the only problem, that it was short. I really thought if they would have invested in it, keep him longer, I really thought it would have been an all-time great run because he was kind of like, he was also similar to Chris Benoit where he was a working champion. You know, we know Kurt Angle has more of a charisma. We know he has we know he has the mic skills for what he is. But this was a period where Kurt Angle was just becoming a worker. Like
This was the wrestling machine
yeah.
era of Kurt Angle.
Yep, like that was the run that he was going with. That's when he started wearing the mouthpiece and everything. So that's the only thing I would say is more so because it's short. I do agree. Top 10, yes. Number 6?
Yeah.
Number 6, debatable for me.
That's fair. That's fair. Coming in at number 5 here as we enter the top 5, we got coming in. Now we're getting up. We're getting up a little bit higher now, Josh. 10 nominations overall for our number 5 here. 2 first place votes and 26 points overall. We have the youngest world heavyweight champion in history, Randall Keith Orton, Randy Orton, who won his first world heavyweight championship in 2004, defeating Chris Benoit at SummerSlam. One of a great matchup. His first run, though, is similar to CM Punk. It wasn't the most memorable, at all. He lost it 1 month later to Triple H and never was able to get it back. He was supposed to be in that main event of WrestleMania 2006 against Batista, despite being involved in the triple threat match with Rey Mysterio. He had a matchup with Rey again and lost that after Rey won the World Heavyweight Championship, but never found his way back. He got kind of into the WWE Championship scene for a very, very long time. For like the next 4 years, he was in the WWE title scene instead of the World Heavyweight Championship before getting into one of the more memorable feuds with the World Heavyweight Championship in 2011 when he feuded with Christian, defeating Christian after Christian won the World Heavyweight Championship for the first time just a couple of days later, and then going into this feud with Christian where Christian just kept wanting one more match against him and was slowly turning heel in the process. A series of classic matches at Over the Limit, Capital Punishment, Money in the Bank. Orton lost the world title to Christian due to the stipulation that if Randy Orton was disqualified, he would lose the world title, and Christian spit in his face, so Orton kicked him in the balls and lost the world title before winning the title back from Christian at SummerSlam 2011. Then he lost the world title again to Mark Henry at Night of Champions in 2011 before making history in 2013 when he became the final World Heavyweight Champion by defeating John Cena in a TLC match at TLC 2013. Quite the legacy for Randy Orton here. I think he's well deserving of being in the top 5, being the youngest World Heavyweight Champion and the last World Heavyweight Champion before the title is being reintroduced here. What do you think about Orton coming in at number 5 here?
This one I actually agree with. It took me a while to really understand it because I remember when it came to Orton, I remember when he won the title, they made a big deal about him being the youngest world champion. At the same time, he was also, like you said, he was in the same boat as CM Punk. The only difference between CM Punk and Randy Orton was that because, Randy Orton was homegrown, they felt like, they probably felt like, hey, let's test this out. Let's see if he's ready. And unfortunately, Orton wasn't ready. Wasn't ready to be a world champion. In almost in every way possible. I don't think he was that great yet at that point. But then he also had a lot of issues outside the ring that kind of prevented him to getting that major push again for a while. We always saw him like on the championship scene, but he never won it for a reason. And that was because they lost confidence in him because of his maturity level. Sure. That was a big part of it too. But he worked his way back up. And by the time he won it again, it was like, all right, this guy is ready. This guy is ready set. He was already making a name for himself. And, those runs were definitely better, 100 times better. And then also even his last, him being the last world champion, I thought, him being top 5, I could agree with.
Yeah, I when you really kind of think about it, because I think when one of the first people in our True Hill Heat chat put Randy Orton in the top 5, I questioned it myself. I was like, I was like you, where I was like, I really only remember when he won the world title and was the youngest reigning champion, and then he lost a month later to Triple H. But when you look at it kind of overall from the wide spectrum, he's definitely deserving deserving of being on the list here because he was involved in some of like the most memorable stuff, youngest reigning, last reigning, so that makes him worthy of being in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
But let's move on now, Josh, to number 4 on our list here. Coming in at number 4, we have, with 28 points overall on 11 nominations, including 1 first place vote, 3-time World Heavyweight Champion, The Undertaker. The Undertaker, man, it felt like such a long time. He won his first WWF championship at WrestleMania 13 and then won his first World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania 23, defeating Batista in a classic encounter that everyone remembers for exceeding expectations, because expectations were very low going into that matchup, but it kickstarted one of the more memorable feuds for the World Heavyweight Championship, where Batista and The Undertaker just felt like natural opponents for each other. They just had a series of very great hoss fights, whether it be at WrestleMania, Backlash, they got the double knockout in the last man standing matchup, then a big steel cage matchup where they drew again. After the steel cage match, Edge cashed in Money in the Bank, ending Taker's run due to an injury that Taker had beforehand, and Taker would not win back the World Heavyweight Championship until he defeated Edge at WrestleMania 24, which this was in the midst of another classic feud for the World Heavyweight Championship between Edge and The Undertaker, where they traded off the title. The Undertaker was stripped of the championship before Edge beat him in a TLC match at One Night Stand in 2008. He eventually would win his 3rd World Heavyweight Championship by defeating CM Punk at Hell in a Cell 2009, and that was arguably his greatest run with the World Heavyweight Championship, where he just had a series of good to great matches on pay-per-view, whether it be against the likes of Rey Mysterio at Royal Rumble, against Chris Jericho and Big Show at Survivor Series, against Batista at TLC, against in the Elimination Chamber against Chris Jericho. So he was just having classic and great matches throughout his 3 reigns as World Heavyweight Champion. Do you think that, the Undertaker's had such a widespread career, and he's the type of guy that never needed a title, but if you think about it, wouldn't you say that the World Heavyweight Championship is the most identifiable title with the Undertaker's career?
Yeah, I think, and you said the first place vote. I think that was me. I voted him first place, and that was part of the reason why. It's because I felt like his world title runs were better than his WWE title runs.
Yeah,
that's my opinion. Because he was in this stage where he was another workhorse. He was putting out great matches, and Taker was at a point of his career where if he's gonna have a match, it's going to be something to watch. At least you got something to watch. That's where Taker was at. That's where Taker was at the point of his career where he's going to put on a banger every time he's out there, no matter who it was. So, yeah, I agree the top 5 because I voted him number 1. So I definitely agree with that. But I also feel like these were his definitely better runs than he did with the WWE title run.
Yeah, I think we're entering the territory where I think me and you, when we started getting the votes for this list, we said there's a consensus top 4 for this. I was like, anybody can put whoever they want at number 5, but there's a consensus top 4, and definitely Undertaker was in my top 4 as well. So well deserving of being in the top 5, top 4 right here. Coming in at number 3, someone that The Undertaker is very familiar with 44 points overall, 13 nominations, and the most first place votes, 5 overall, Josh. We got the Game, Triple H. And if there is anyone who was identifiable with the World Heavyweight Championship, especially in the first 3 years of the title when it was introduced in 2002, it is this man right here. He was the first WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and then he just kept being involved in the world title for the next 3 years. He loses the championship at elimination in the Elimination Chamber at Survivor Series 2002. Wins it back the next month at Armageddon from Shawn Michaels. He holds the title for, I believe, his second run with the title was 280 days before he loses it to Goldberg at Unforgiven 2003. He holds the title. He gets back the title just a couple of months later at Armageddon 2003, and goes on arguably his best run with the championship. That was the memorable moment where Evolution had all the main titles on Monday Night Raw, and then he has the great matchup with Shawn Michaels at the end of 2003 over the World Championship. Then he has another great matchup with Michaels in the Last Man Standing match at Royal Rumble, the classic triple threat where he loses the world title to Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit loses it to Randy Orton, and then Triple H beats Randy Orton a month later for the world title at Unforgiven 2004. And he goes on another long reign with the world championship. I'm just going to combine these two reigns because it's split up into two. Because he wins the world title at Unforgiven, then during the whole, the GM spot after Survivor Series 2004, he loses the world title in like a triple threat where Benoit and Edge both pin and submit each other, and then he wins back the world title at New Year's Revolution in 2005 before losing the world title for the very last time against Batista in another one that I would put in the top 5 greatest rivalries in WWE history, as Batista went from the enforcer of Evolution to the World Heavyweight Championship. Man, when this is like we're going deep into the deep end of the reign of terror. This is why a lot of people hate Triple H, but you can't deny he's one of the greatest World Heavyweight Champions ever, can you, Josh?
Yeah, so I think when I voted for Triple H, I voted him number 5. And the reason why is because there were so many title changes that happened that it was kind of like, it was kind of hard to really fathom his actual runs. Like, all right, which run was actually great? And that was a problem to me because it was like he was in the period where, of course, when we looking at it, the whole aspect was that he was getting these title runs because of who he was married to, which I think at the time it did cloud a lot of stuff. It kind of did put a cloud over that because he wasn't necessarily, there's times where he necessarily didn't have the best matches, and there was even times where he was injured while being champion, which I commend him. At the same time they weren't great, like during the time in Elimination Chamber, not the first one, the second one I believe, where he worked a match injured.
Yeah.
But he didn't do anything. He really didn't do anything. He took a spear from like Goldberg from the pod, but he didn't do anything because he was injured. And then when he lost to Goldberg, he was still injured. That's the only reason why they took the title off of him at that time. And he comes back, wins it again. So there was times where it was very cloudy, but I do agree with, his best run was when Evolution formed, and and then the feud between him and Batista, how that formed and how that really played out, even though we kind of knew what was going to happen, but the way they did it, I thought the way they still did it was perfect. Like, when he had to choose one champion, and then when Batista fooled him and he did the thumbs up, and then all those things I still remember. Like all those things I still remember. So for a while, there's been years where I looked at his reign differently, but now I guess the last couple of years I look at it different because I'm like, all right, you could say this reign was good. You kind of look at it differently now because on a bigger scope, you kind of understand what they were doing. You don't have to necessarily agree with it, but you kind of understand why things were being done the way it was while Triple H was there.
Yeah, it's more of a retrospect type of thing where you could place Triple H in the World Heavyweight Championship scene. I think I had him at number 2 or number 4. I forget right now where I had him at. Let me actually check. I had him at number 3 actually. So yeah, I had him at number 3 because he was so identifiable. 5-time world heavyweight champion. And only second to, actually, moving on swiftly to our number 2 spot. Coming in at number 2 here, Josh, with 45 points. So just 1 point higher than Triple H with 3 first place votes, but 12 nominations overall. We have the record 7-time world heavyweight champion, the rated R superstar Edge. Now, I'm going to go through all of this. This is a lot because I had to look up and do my research beforehand. Jesus Christ, this is a wild ride. So he wins his first World Heavyweight Championship in 2007 after he steals Money in the Bank from Mr. Kennedy and then cashes in a few days later on The Undertaker to win the World Heavyweight Championship. Unfortunately, that run ends due to an injury to Edge just a couple of months later. That leads to the awful Great Khali run, so we're not going to even get into that. But eventually, he comes back in 2007 and defeats Batista in a triple threat match with The Undertaker at Armageddon to win his second World Heavyweight Championship, going on a great run, I think his best run of his whole entire title reigns, where eventually he loses the championship to The Undertaker at WrestleMania 24, the classic main event where The Undertaker wins. Undertaker is stripped of the World Heavyweight Championship because of Hell's Gate, and he wins. Edge wins the World Championship for the 3rd time in a TLC match against The Undertaker in 2008 at One Night Stand. He holds the title until CM Punk cashes in Money in the Bank on him in 2008. Then we have to wait a little while longer before Edge wins it again, where he wins it in one of the most memorable Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber moments, where he loses the WWE title at the beginning of the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view in 2009, and then sneaks his way in by jumping Kofi Kingston into the World Heavyweight Championship Elimination Chamber, where he beats all the participants to win the world title for a 4th time. He loses the world title to John Cena at WrestleMania 25 in a triple threat match with Big Show, but he wins it back just a few weeks later at Backlash thanks to Big Show choke slamming John Cena through a headlight in a great one-night stand matchup between the long-term rivals of Cena and Edge. Edge holds on to the title for just a few months before losing the championship to Jeff Hardy. And then we have to wait a little while longer until the following year in 2010 when Edge wins the World Heavyweight Championship from Kane in a fatal 4-way with Alberto Del Rio and Rey Mysterio in a TLC match at TLC 2010. Then we have this weird period with Edge gets the title vacated because Vicky Guerrero is the SmackDown GM, and she hands the title to Dolph Ziggler. And then that same night, Edge wins back the World Heavyweight Championship for his seventh and final run with the title.
Oh, stupid! I remember that.
But finally, Edge relinquishes the World Heavyweight Championship due to the serious neck injury that we thought ended his career in 2011. But my, oh my, if there is anyone who you think World Heavyweight Championship with, and you think of the first person you probably think of is Edge. What do you think about this 7-time World Heavyweight Champion? And do you believe that he probably should have been number 1 on our list here?
Yeah, I honestly thought he was going to be number 1 once it was said. Oh, sorry about that.
Prince is very passionate about Edge should have been.
Oh no, that's the other one. She's
okay.
She's a little crazy.
She wanted Edge to be number 1. I get it. It's okay.
Yeah. Nah, so like so when it comes to Edge, like I actually thought he was gonna be number 1 because he did actually have some great title runs, even though some of them did feel short. He did have the times where he had to vacate it, especially his last one. I think that's what makes it more memorable because he won his match. What people forget too is that he won his final match I think it was WrestleMania, right? From what I remember.
It was WrestleMania 27 against Alberto Del Rio.
Yeah, so he won like his final match, and then he had to vacate the title because he was basically forced into retirement. So when it comes to Edge and some of these guys on the list, I felt like when the title, even though again at the time people felt like it was a consolation prize, a lot of these guys did benefit from the title. He was one of the guys who benefited from. Like I said before, Chris Benoit benefited from the title. Mark Henry benefited from the title. So a lot of these guys did benefit from what they were going, but also we also have to look at it that it was a time where the brand split what felt like a true split. We didn't see guys going back and forth. So that's why again, going back to the current state of things, I don't know why the title was being reintroduced. That's part of it, but then also even as the fact that they have a SmackDown guy going after it when it's supposed to be a Raw exclusive title, that makes the concept even worse, in my opinion. But when these guys won it, it felt like a true brand split. That's why it benefited a lot of these guys, because even when they did the draft, they were switching champions. They were switching champions back and forth. So it wasn't like a thing where, oh, we have two world champions on the show, So he was one of those guys who really benefited from it. And when you think about world champions, yeah, he's one of the guys you think about. And it again, it kind of solidified like his legacy, in my opinion.
It definitely did. Like he was just always involved with the world title from 2007 through 2010 and into 2011. Like it's just so identifiable with him. But there may be one other person who it is more identifiable with, and that is our number one entrant, number one on our list of the top 10 WWE World Heavyweight Champions of all time, with 47 points overall, including one first place vote, 14 nominations, which is the most. Literally, everyone everyone that we get a nomination from, pretty much except two, had this person on their list. It is the animal, Batista. Batista, a multi-time world heavyweight champion himself. Overall, 4 world heavyweight championships, with the second most days overall, with 507 days, and a lot of that comes down to his first run with the World Heavyweight Championship, where he held the title for 282 days. Of course, beating Triple H in their matchup at WrestleMania 21 in the midst of one of the greatest rivalries over the World Heavyweight Championship and in WWE history, where Batista won the title for the first time, holding the title until he had to relinquish the title due to injury. He eventually wins the world championship for a second time over King Booker at Survivor Series 2006, before losing the title to The Undertaker in the midst of another classic rivalry over the World Heavyweight Championship. Batista didn't win the title back until 2007, where he defeats Great Khali in a triple threat match with Rey Mysterio at Unforgiven 2007. And his final run with the championship, I believe, was what's that one? Yes, it was that one. In fact, was his final run with the championship when he beat Great Khali and held the title until Armageddon 2007. But man, Batista, you had the memorable time where he relinquished the title. I think really Batista's on this list due to that first run with the World Championship. In my opinion, his first run with the World Heavyweight Championship is the greatest reign in the World Heavyweight Championships time, because like you said, and like you keep saying throughout this list, Josh, the World Heavyweight Championship has to be used to elevate somebody, and I don't think it elevated somebody more than it did Batista in that first run. So what do you think about his legacy with this World Heavyweight Championship, and do you believe he deserves to be number one on our list?
Yeah. So when it comes to Batista, same thing like I was saying before. Like a lot of these guys, he was probably the main one that did because remember, Batista was in a situation where when he got brought up, he was a lackey. He was a lackey to Devon. He was Deacon Batista, and people saw potential. People saw his size. People were intrigued about his size, about his look. They were like, "Oh, this guy, he looks like a world champion." And once they put him to evolution, they kind of saw that. They kind of saw the making of Batista. The only issue with Batista at the time was that he was getting injured a lot. So it kind of felt like things were being brought back. And I felt like he was one of those guys who I don't want to say lucked out, but it benefited him when he came back that they were still willing to like, all right, we're gonna make this guy, we're gonna push this guy to the moon. And he was one of those guys who really benefited from that. And then even that WrestleMania win, like I remember that. I remember that night where he came out, he had the new theme and everything. That's why I was like, oh man, he's not losing tonight. No way he's losing. That's when he came out to his theme he uses now. But yeah, he was one of those guys who really benefited from it. Even as a worker, Batista, you know, he had his moments, but I really don't think he was a bad. I don't think he was a bad wrestler. I thought he was pretty entertaining. He did what he had to do, especially somebody his size. I thought he did. He got the job done. So in regards to his title reigns, him being number one. I mean, honestly, like you said, the top four, you could have gone with either guy being number one. So him being number one, little surprising, but at the same time, is like again, you freaking do like a lottery, like a little like those ping pongs. Any of these guys could have been number one. So him being number one, I understand too, because again, I think he's the guy who benefited the most out of being the world champion.
I definitely agree with you there. And his fourth and final run was the one over Chris Jericho in 2008. It almost slipped my mind that last one because it was so brief. It was only an 8-day reign, but 507 days, 4 reigns overall. That makes him third all time with the most reigns for the World Heavyweight Championship. Like you said, just how it elevated him, and in the midst of one of the greatest rivalries of all time with Triple H, another classic rivalry over the world title with Undertaker. I think those things are the things that kind of put him on this list so high, and just him, Edge, and the Undertaker from like 2007 through 2009. It was one of those guys that always had the World Heavyweight Championship or were the challenger for the World Heavyweight Championship. It seemed like constantly those 3 guys were the guys that held down the world title and took it to a higher place after Triple H's initial 3-year run where he was involved with the title. But that is our list. That is the top 10 WWE World Heavyweight Champions of all time, voted by the crew here at True Hill Heat, as well as our Patreon backers. We want to thank all of our Patreon backers who contributed to our list. We appreciate each and every one of you. Alan Banky, Dolores, ALW, James Hayes, the Negro Buck Nick Jackson, and thank you to all the True Hill Heat crew that contributed to our list as well. Josh, thank you so much for joining me for this list, for letting that emotion, letting your heart speak when it comes to the reintroduction of the World Heavyweight Championship. Please let the people know where they can follow you on social media and when they can see you here on the True Hill Heat YouTube channel.
So you can follow me at jampunk321, Twitter and Instagram. You can also find me on Radio Raw Superstars every Monday during Monday Night Raw watch-alongs, Elite Heat, AEW Dynamite watch-alongs, and then also when we do watch-alongs for the pay-per-views for anything WWE, AEW, nothing NXT. Don't ask me about that. Yeah, those are the platforms you can find me on. And then even doing this list, man, I'm like, it makes me dislike the current title even more now doing this list, because it's like, man, going down this list, it really kind of brought back memories. It kind of really like, oh wow, like kind of meant this title, this version really meant something. Now I don't know where this thing is gonna go. It's just more so because we already seen this concept before. We already seen it. Do I really want to see it again? Not really, but it's like whatever at this point. Look,
Hey, Prince. It's Prince. Prince is here with us. Look at that. Got to give Prince a spotlight. Yeah. And yeah, when I will say when we were going over Edge's accolades for this, it was like if we're gonna have a SmackDown guy in the finals, it should have been Edge. Like it should have been Edge. When we went over Edge at number 2, I was like, yeah, it probably should have been Edge because he has the natural story to be in this list. Hey, we got another one. We got another run in.
yeah, this is the one that was barking when the Edge was number 2.
That's
Edge.
me.
It's like Edge should have been number 1. Love it. Love it. You can follow me on the Twitter machine at TrueHeelSP3. Follow the game, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at True Hill Heat. Patreon.com/True Hill Heat. $3 a month. You got the prediction championship. You got exclusive content like my Raw report, as well as review of Honor. You got also the final episode of Dark Power that is up on our Patreon as well. And you get to be part of and be able to vote on our list videos every single month by being a Patreon backer. So $3 a month. There's so much to offer there. Subscribe to True Hill Heat Sports. Go over and follow us, twitch.tv/True Hill Heat Gaming, and check out all the great content on the channel right now, like my exclusive interview for True Heels BTR Between the Ropes with former Impact World Champion Sami Callihan. Go over and check that out right now. And also check out our flagship podcast, True Heel Heat 225 from this past Saturday, where we talked about this week in wrestling, including the second coming of CM Punk, AEW's potential $1 billion TV deal, plus much, much more. We have special guests Andrew Thompson, Professor Chris Ely, as well as Nate J. News came in and talked about Best of Super Juniors as well. A new era of True Hill Heat kicked off this past Saturday, so go over and check that out. But I want to thank Josh once again for joining me on this month's list, and thank you all for watching this month's list. Remember to drop a thumbs up on the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe if you are new to the True Heel Heat YouTube channel. But this has been True Heel Heat's Top 10 WWE World Heavyweight Champions of all time. It is me, your True Heel Phenom SP3, and I'm signing off until next time.
Okay, I have to